in a sense, is a very identifying technology. Right? If someone wants to send you email, they need to know where you are. When I send a query to Google, Google has to know who to send that information back to. So the internet and IT and communications technology has a lot of identity embedded in, but it's sloppy. It's not me that Google knows is doing the query, it's my computer. It's not me that you send email to, it's my email address. So there's a lot of identity, but there's a disconnect between the computer and the chair, the person sitting in the chair, or a disconnect between the network and the person. And that sloppiness is bothersome to a lot of people, mostly governments and corporations, who want to use that data for political or marketing, for control. And so that's sort of the first thing that's happening. The second thing is that we've entered an era where, as other panelists have said, national security is the pass to do anything. In a way, in the United States, the war on drugs was 10 years ago. That you can use that phrase to justify pretty much anything. And there's a widespread belief, and you even hear it in this building, that there's security versus privacy. That we must give up some privacy to get security. If we want more privacy, we lose security. Now, that actually is complete nonsense. We can argue how good those metal detectors are outside the building here, but they are a security measure that has nothing to do with privacy. You might not like the lock on your hotel room door, but it's a security measure that has nothing to do with privacy. And you can list dozens and hundreds of security measures that have nothing to do with privacy. Identity-based security has to do with privacy. But there are a lot of limitations to that, and a lot of places where that doesn't work. But there's a widespread belief, fueled, I think, by governments and by corporations that are pushing these technologies, that if we just knew who everybody was, we can somehow pick the bad guys out of a list of names, that this is possible, which is fueling this desire for information, which is pushing on privacy. Now, in some ways, this is an old discussion. We know how to do this, right? Already, and in all of our countries, the police have extraordinary powers to invade our privacy. But what we try to do is put limits on that power. Right? We have a warrant process, we have disclosure processes, we have a judicial process, all designed to limit the power of the police when they invade our privacy. And I think that's a really key thing to pay attention to. You only think security versus privacy if you look at one threat as opposed to all the others. Right? In fact, we live in a world where there are many threats. And yes, the terrorists are a threat, but repressive governments are another threat. Right? And unethical corporations are a third threat. And nosy neighbors are a fourth threat. And when you look at all the threats, you quickly realize that privacy is not antithetical to security, it is a component of security. And in order for us to be secure, we must also have privacy. They are not in opposition at all. And by giving away our privacy in some misguided attempt to make us secure against terrorism, we are actually reducing our security against governments, against multinational corporations, against those who are in power. Privacy is empowering. Giving privacy to the people raises their power with respect to government. That's why it's important, and that's why it's part of security.